vote against Emerson Mnangagwa in an impeachment vote. These MPs are from both ZANU-PF and CCC. The land which is being said that they've received is part of the payment was promised in exchange for supporting the 2030 bid. And the land is being taken from Greenways in Ward 16 in Meberin and in Westgate. The allocation of this land was done by Mnangagwa's supporter in Trumpet, the local government minister Daniel Garwe. So he appealed to media houses to go to Meberin district office to find out what is going on. And then he goes on to say that these greenways are strips of natural land within urban or suburban areas that are preserved for environmental and recreational purposes, which include parks, walking paths, cycling trails, or underdeveloped natural corridors like woodlands or wetlands. They help manage stormwater, protect biodiversity, reduce urban heat, and provide communities with access to green space. So when government sees or allocates greenways for development, especially for political favors, it must spark public outrage because it destroys communal environment and recreational facilities. Throughout the day, he has been updating us, and then he gave us an update as well, where he said that people who are opposed to Mnangagwa's bride of members of parliament, they've also said that in addition, these MPs have been promised 200,000 each on top of the land. This money will be given parts before they vote and the balance afterwards to ensure that they vote to support Emerson Mnangagwa. Secondly, they've been told that in a vote to extend his term of office, they will also benefit, as there will be no election, meaning they will remain in office. So these two provisions have been put in place to ensure that none of them vote against Emerson Mnangagwa. So the third provision is that the land will be transferred into their names after voting on these two issues. And then he then goes on to say, Blessed succeeded in putting the 2030 public campaign on hold, forcing Mnangagwa to turn to bribery. He also succeeded in promising the impeachment, proposing the impeachment route, which forced Mnangagwa not to only shut down parliament until May, but also exposed him by making the embarrassing bribery move. This will also expose the MPs who are for hire. So I've also reached out and said, if we can have, the list of these MPs, it will be very much, appreciated. There are also further details about, these bribes that when the MPs arrived at the district office, the council officials were kicked out. And the meeting proceeded, and these guys were told that they will each receive 300 square meters from the greenways, which were originally reserved for ecological reasons, right? So he is awaiting a list of these MPs who are said to be beneficiary of this. You also posted something to do with Borodale, to say that in Borodale, there's something So he said more land is being stolen from Marlborough, Borodale Central, and Grayson Park, which is part of the Borodale district, to give to members of parliament as bribe in a bid to stop Mnangagwa's impeachment, allow for his term of extension. So that is the information that we received, and that came in that is speaking to that. So I just thought that would react to that. And since yesterday we spoke about this issue of parliament closing, I asked the question, why is parliament closed, right? And also the discussion that we had also touched on MPs going on recess, which is quite a normal thing around this time around. I mean, around Easter, it's quite normal that they go on recess, and they will then come back. But we then looked at the previous years when these MPs would go on on recess around this period of time, and we identified that in the week that they go on recess, they would go through their parliamentary agenda from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on the last day, which was on Thursday, that is when the recess comes into effect, and then they'll come back around May. Last year it was on the 7th of May. The previous year it was on the 9th of May. So this is something that is not new, but the way with which it happened, this year, that on the Tuesday, which is the first day of the week that the parliament sits, they go in there, they get an announcement that Auxilia, Her Excellency Auxilia Mnangagwa is inviting women parliamentarians to come to a sort of a retreat, a meeting on the 16th of April, and they are all expected to be attending, that. And that is the only announcement, that is done. And within 7 minutes, they are told that, they are now on recess. So if you look at these activities, they raise a lot of eyebrows, because at the end of the day, we are in a period whereby there's a lot of things that are also going on. The issue with impeachment, stuff like that, and we even some people were even saying, "Oh, the impeachment, the motion was going to be moved," but likely we had agents Gumbo, who came in and explained, the process, the parliamentary, processes, stuff like that, and it was indicated that there was nothing on the agenda in terms of that motion. But it is now being the moves that are now happening. It is now apparent that there's something that is going on in anticipation of that impeachment motion, because I believe they're anticipating that the motion is going to be moved. But like what I said yesterday, that this period where they are going to go away, there are going to be moves that are going to be made to pacify these people, or to try and buy these people, and hence um, we are here talking about this issue of bribery, using land that is not suitable for building residential areas, land that is protected, but for people that want to push their agenda, they do not care. They really don't care. They don't give a toss. They don't care for as long as they achieve what they want to achieve. And this right here demonstrate that these people they don't care. So what I'm going to do is, since we started at 7, I'm not going to talk much, but I'm going to allow you guys to weigh in, give your reactions. And Dichiga, Saka, if you want to make a reaction, please just make sure that you request for the mic, and I'll give you the opportunity to come in and speak to us. I'm expecting guests to come through, and if they come through, we'll give them the opportunity to come in and speak, because some of them they're traveling, and they don't have much time. And when I approached them, it was kind of short notice that I'm doing this, but they've agreed to accommodate us. So I'm hoping that they'll come through when they get the time to do so. So the Prince of Dotito, how are you, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Ayo, actually, both but say go back to TikTok.
Ah, Tito tiri kuja baba.
Tulikuja baba.
Yeah. Um. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
My contribution is that we are in a season of high excess, and like my contributions before, we are in our election season where the vote that matters is about to be cast. So you know what these guys do, these comrades, the people who run our country, the power brokers. They use what is called intelligence and counterintelligence. It's actually a Python strategy where python attracts its prey by using the change of colors on its skin. So as the prey is, looking at the python, it's not seeing that it is actually moving towards it. And in a flash of a second, the prey is captured and swallowed. So what you find in this season is that there are so many things that are shared. Importantly, to set a narrative for and against. So the things that you see don't carry like a literal value. They carry a metamorph, like it's a metaphor for something that the agenda is trying to drive it. The issue of an impeachment, if you look at it practically, you can think of it like it's a far-fetched idea by Geza. But those who know and are in the know, they know that it can actually happen. But it will not happen necessarily by way of the MPs, one of them in parliament actually moving a motion and you get it. So it's a long ball that has been played into the air and you don't know where to actually land on. That's what I think about the issue of the impeachment. But the risk of an impeachment is evident. But in my calculation, the risk of an impeachment itself is actually an end game kind of a thing. It is the last thing that will happen. So there are other things that must happen. I think if you saw, Geza came out last week, and for many people thought it was a lukewarm delivery by him compared to the previous. But I think that was possibly the deadly kind of contribution that he has done in the recent past. Um, then to say the MPs, I do not think we have opposition MPs in parliament. I think all of the opposition are prepaid members of parliament. They've been bought, not like recently. They were bought a long time ago. Got money to remain in parliament. One, secondly, they are in ED's pocket. So it's like you create an opposition that is actually for you. That now and then it's for decoration to say we actually have opposition, but we do not have opposition. I do not think, even if they are not paid, I do not think they will vote against the Emerson Mnangagwa because I think embarrassing details about them might just come out because these people have received money left, right, and center. In terms of using resources, wetlands, and the like, politicians have no rules when it comes to satisfying an immediate need because to them power is everything. Because with power, you have money, you have access to women, and all sorts of things that they want. So there's no the appetite to do anything that you consider even outrightly. This is an act that not even a normal person would undertake. Politicians would do that for power. So, in my opinion, in this season, a lot of things are happening. Money is exchanging hands. And there are people who are playing in both teams, you see. These are the dangerous ones. They actually attend such things to gather information, they distribute the information. So you find in intelligence sources, there are those who are double agents, and you find them also in this instance, in this power struggle. But what I see is that we are on the road to something big, but it will not happen possibly immediately like what we think in terms of an impeachment. I do not think an impeachment will happen now. I think the impeachment will be the last piece on the chess game that will be played. But all these have been floated. So I think in the end it will be played, but not now. So I think this one is a scaremongering thing that is happening. But what I would think is that there's a large section of people who are saying ED must go, And I think their voice is loud enough for him to know that the people are tired of me. And whatever he sees as a threat, he tries to deal with it. And I think sometimes he goes overboard in that respect. Thank you, Uncle.
Right. Thank you very much, for that. Thank you very much for opening, the space. Really appreciate that. We really appreciate your perspective, on this one and your reaction. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
my brother. Right. Can I move on to right. Champion, how you doing?
Mpasha,
Did you
what do you
say
say?
Muslim, right?
Happy birthday, ka.
Come
Mpasha.
on.
Aiwa,
Thank you. Thank you.
inini zvangu unoziva Mpasha, unoziva kana wakatarisa what you were reading about. Nyaya yemari, it's not something new, right? I don't know whether someone understands this to say, okay, money in politics is not a new thing. Last parliament, what happened? Not this one. Think of the last parliament, what happened? They were given 40,000, right? Now, we're in 2025. They are being given 200,000. And the issue of 200,000 was exposed by someone here. If you still remember, Mpasha wangu, someone came here and exposed it. And I was not even there here, right? But I just heard about it to say, no, ndakanga ndiri ku-UK, ku-USA, ndichitaura nomwe munhu angauya ku-USA, this and that, munhu uyu akatoti akapromiswa ma200, this and that. Ma200 aya abuda. Chachisiri chiprofita kana munhu iye aitaura. Ranga riri dzvene. Dzvene riri kuti kudii? Riri kuti kunyasire dzeopposition. Musati ma-MP. Handitika. Why nichiti nyasire? Because nyasire idzi dzakaudzwa kare kare. Vakomana, musainda kwamuri kuenda uku. Aiwa, isi toda kuenda. Toda kuno kwai toda kunoprotecta toda kunovhara maspace. Maspace amuri kuvhara imimi manhanikire imi ma-MP opposition ari muparliament ndeapi? Mumbotiratidza chaipo chaipo kuti ndeapi? Hapana. Izvozvi kana that report is true, kuti kune vavanga vakavangire mari neminda, it shows you how rot someone is in his mind. Because one of the things that a person should think about, don't think about today because you have got today. Think about tomorrow where you don't have anything. I know, semazimba, sevanhu vanorarama, there is only one thing that I have discovered that we don't think about. Think of tomorrow usina chunhu, because hauzivi kuti ramangwana racho rakamira sei. Saka haungaprofesai kuti aiwa ndine chunhu ndendakamira apa. Idzodzo inhema. Saka ma-MP aya ari kuita zvinhu izvi, 1, vari kuleka conscience. 2, havana kana namamorals, because handifungi kuti zveshuwa uri kunyatsokuziva kuti MNANGAGWA is in his twilight period. Rangova rinda rokuti musi nguva yangofunga rogona kudaidzwa kunzi rinda riya radhirikira. Iwe ndopaunototi sika aiwa handichamboenda unotora chakati. What if the new government comes and say, okay, we have to criminalize vanhu vese vakanga vachiita unyasire husina basa? And we wobva uri MP wobva waita kunyaradza kunyadziswa kwaMelania. Sure. Nai ma-MP toziva kuti vanoteerera, but regai tovaudzira pano because hatina umwe mukana. Imimi ma-MP imimi, unyasire bwamuri kuita uko, muri kufunga kuti tinokangamwa chazuro nehope. Hatikangamwi. Time ichasvika yokuti muchaexposwa, mugonyatso kubuda pachena, mugoshawa kokuenda, mugoshawa pokuvanda, mugoshawa norokutaura. Because zvimwe zvinhu zvamunoita sevamiririri vevanhu zvinonyadzisa. If you were to allow this thing to happen, you would have a good will for your future. But inini ndongoriwo champion hangu iwo MP for the current time that they think it's not going to end any time enough. So tinovatarisa vakadaro, but ini ndiri ngotaura kuti nyaya iripo ndeyekuti ma-MP vavanyasiri havachabvumidzwa kana kuti havachakodzera kudamwa kana kuti kudaidzwa zita rokuti MP. Chingoti nyasire dziri muparliament, whether uri kuopposition, whether uri kupi kupi kwauri ukoko uri nyasiri, nokuti basa rawakatumwa kunoita hausi kuita. Because handifungi kuti kuna MP wakati dzvi unobuda wonyasa kutaura kuti aiwa ndaina unotora mari. Waina unotora mari yei? Aiwa ndaina unotora mari nechimunda. Saka chimunda chacho wozodii nacho? Apa chiri muwetland. That's number one. Number two, what about next time we are going to have a new IMA, Environmental Management Agency, that is very strict. What are you going to do? Chimunda ichi watorera mahara, uchatorerwa futi, kana kuti uchachinanira, uchazama kuchirima-rima, zvirimwa zvacho zvobva zvatorwa nemvura. Unongoziva so, mombe yemurombo haibereki. Saka varume ava navakadzi vava vari kuzviti ndo ma-MP, nyaya dzavo dzichazovanetsa. Havachazofanana futi nema-current leaders ari kuzviti ndo vari pamberi. Why? Because I would like you to see how the vicious cycle of insecurity happens and how it revolves as you move with your life. Right? Right now, we all know the reason why this family is doing all this is because, one, they are insecure. Once power is gone, no more yada yada, no more happiness, no more anything. And the worst part in it come life so. Unozaipa ponengo uri mwana wababa ivavo vanenge vachizviti ndo first family or whatsoever. Hauna even any industrial attachment experience or anything that you can put to your badge, that you can put to your life and say, this is hard work. What is going to happen? Because I know, isusu takakura tichitambura. Vamwe vacho, because I am not speaking on my behalf. Vamwe musazofunga kuti no, champion, kune vamwe vakayambuka. Handitika, vachisvikirwa muhuro nemvura. Vachiyambuka Limpopo. And at least they know how to do hard work. Koimimi vanongoba mari nepeni. Vanongoti oga mugodhi wadhuka kwaende wedu baba vedu vakatenga muna 1961 vakatenga muna 1965. Kwakwa nemigodhi here kwakusina. Munhu uchazorarama sei? I know vazhinji vanoda kuzvibvunza kuti saka ndiri kumbotaura kuti ndiri kuti inini, what are you going to do mune ramangwana? Because what I know is zviri nane kufungira ramangwana pakufungira nhasi, because nhasi uri kutoraramaka, uri kutomhanya, tiri kutokuona uri kuuya pasi pesi uchitaura uita sei. Ramangwana racho uchariita sei? Because the insecurity that we create is what makes us, or what compels us to grab the power by all means necessary. And this is what is happening. That's why you now see kuti even the incumbent himself is saying, no, I can give you wetlands. What has happened to reach at this stage? Chii chaizvo chiri kunetsa. Ko kana mukasiya pano unokubatai here zvamava ne-old age 82, 86, 85. Chii chaizvo chiri kunetsa. Saka ini zvangu ndiri kungotaura kuti the issue, we have got the issue of power, we have got the issue yema insecurities. My leaders, both in opposition and whatsoever, I don't know whether there is a ruling party or a winning party, but what I'm trying to say is manage your political life in the best interest of you and your people, so that by the end of the day, you are not going to trouble people, right? Grabbing power when it is unnecessary and when you don't have anything that you can offer to the people. Because right now, look at it. Right? Varungotamba yavo yavo. Ukavabvunza izvozvi kuti zvamakakwegura kudai makashandira nyika, chiwo chamunoti nyika yakakuitirai magara pasi, chanza unzi hapana. Mapenjeni acho aitotevererwa achitobobonywa nevakuru.
Right.
Mabhingi vakadii, vakaisa mutsvairo vakarova. Right? Wherever madhibhi chaiwo chaiwo, mombe chaidzo dzinodhibha hadzichakwanisi kudhibha. Wakutotemuka dhibhi rako wofirita mombe dzako wega, because that's what is there. And these are realities that someone is not going to be able to confront after losing power. So here there is a post-power syndrome that someone is facing to say, ndigozonzi chii, ndigozonzi imga, ndigozonzi pakaipa. Pakaipa hamkwashaka. Aiwa Mwari akuitire nyasha wena. Unoziva kuunganidza misoro more than 1,000 ka. It's not just a walk in the park. So no, I commend you for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Right, His Grace, do you want to come in? His Grace, do you want to come in?
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. My voice is not yet in order. Look, I'm not very surprised by this. I'm actually surprised. We are surprised. But we shouldn't be surprised anymore. Maybe we should be surprised we are taking so long to actually activate the anger that lies at the bottom of our hearts. Because let me tell you something very basic. You hear this statement, and I hope it's true. Okay, I hope it's true that MNANGAGWA and his party have decided to buy these people using wetlands. But it's an insult. It's an insult even to the unborn child of Zimbabwe. It's an insult to those that are living today who don't know where the door of a classroom is, because they have never had the chance since they were called border gezis, some of whom were fed on banje, machinzi, manikidzwa kurarana namai vavo, and so forth and so on. We know all these things. So at this point, Zimbabwe, or the nation itself, now takes everything that we used to condemn as evil for normal behavior and conduct. So yeah, when they say, oh, now it's the level of desperation, because now they think they have no other things to do except my mind's taparata zvese taparadza, saka zvasara ndizvo zvizvi zvanga zvisingaiti kuti munhu uvake wetlands by nature inzvimbo dzinondengeteka, because
sorry His Grace uncle ndango yauti we are so many people, somebody ndambopedza kudya vamotaura wozotaura after pedza kudya. I mean, it's a disrespect for us. We can't listen you chewing and talking. Sorry about that, uncle. I just come up to say that. But, I know we want you to contribute, but finish eating. His Grace arikutaura
iwe shamwari ina handikuzive ndofunga kana makatera ndataura kuti muchandirigiro.
Guys, can we have order? We need order, please. And then we move on to the next person. Can you not interfere, please? Right. Please, can you go ahead?
Anyway, I wanted to remind you that was my first statement. Be patient, people. So anyway, so if you think about it, wetlands inzvimbo dziri designated kuti hadzikwanisi kurimwa because dzinofamba nemvura yepasi, dzinofamba nemvura yepamusoro. So kurima nzvimbo idzodzo isusu tichiti Zimbabwe iri kuitwa desertified in most of these areas. It means we are actually extending or speeding up the process yekuti nzvimbo arable lands atingadai tinawo aite arid kuita madeserts. Saka vanhu vakadaro ava havasi kufunga about the future of the nation. They don't care. Now, the other person said that MPs. Well, yeah, we do not. We on paper are people, but these are not people who are working for the nation. These are people who are working for themselves. Remember, most of these politicians now believe that being a politician is an employable job. It's a profession. It's not because they're hungering and thirsting. No, they think about that more money to ourselves. So yeah, there is no. I may not isusu wacho tinoda kuramba tichamisika kusvika rini, because believe me, it's not untrue, it's not an exaggeration kuti if this goes on for the next 10 years, potential yevanhu vakawanda yekuti vazorealize a free Zimbabwe ine potential yekustart over inenge minuscule, inenge limited severely nekuda kwecorruption, corruption yet, but there are many other things, as you know, that are being degraded on a daily basis. So perhaps it's time for us now to get off our butts and start planning exactly how we fight back, because we must stop these kinds of things from happening. Thank you very much. And this way, hello, is everybody still there?
Yeah, Tiripo, we are there. We are there. In Zimbabwe, the 2023 elections were condemned by the international community, and we as Zimbabweans, we saw that this was not an election. Our leader is of the opposition, where I belong, President Chamisa, and denied also that election. And the MPs who are loyal to the party, which is CCC, by then, of which we are going to have another formality which is different from that captured thing. They walked away from that parliament. So in that parliament, there is no representatives of the people. They are only criminals who were bought by MNANGAGWA using Tsabangwe. So they don't represent the will of the people.
Right.
And the other thing is that mahumbu ese ari kuitika ngavaite zvavo hakuchisina 2030 izvi hazvipo. Garo rinokwanisa kuedza zisi zvarinoita 2030 takazvikansela because akatanga neinonzi M31 movement, and M31 ine maprocess akawanda. Tapinda pane impeachment tichaita maprocess akawanda because inina supporting zvakatangwa izvozvo zvekuti M31. Right. Saka I'm sure kuti wanzizo zvagaro yango mbudzi yangoninga moza kuti kana raenhingi kana iri dhongi kana raudesi ringe rakudi rakukava kana kuti rakukava makumba rukavakava mari anayo, you can give them money. Right. But imwe mari as a nation will claim it. Vanhu vachatiza.
Yeah, vakaipa.
Right. Because gore rino iri kaini tizorori
handiti. All right, thank you very much. Right. Hey, Wopo, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay, my brother. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we are talking for the story, that you broke this morning.
Yeah, it's terrible, because it, it, the tragedy for me is not ZANU PF. The tragedy for me is the opposition, because if you go to my Twitter handle right now, I've just retweeted with a message, a tweet that I put out 2023 with a document showing how ZANU PF was stealing land, putting it in government provisionally, and then taking it from government. Uh, these are things that have been happening. We get lambasted by people when we challenge opposition leaders to do something, say something, create some kind of action around these things. This has been happening for a long time. But the problem is that the swamp is not just about ZANU-PF anymore. It's about the whole political elite. All the political elites are involved in this corruption. Just go to the timelines of all the opposition leaders that you can think of and see who has condemned today's actions. Their silence is very loud. It's just a few like Joanna Mamombe, who comes from that constituents, Councillor Denford Ngazore, but the rest are quiet, you know, because they get one thing or the other through this corrupt system. This land is meant to protect all of us, both in ZANU-PF and opposition, and those that do not support a particular party, from climate change. This land is supposed to store water for us. It's supposed to help with the cooling. We are going to get a lot of heat when these people start building on these greenways. It's going to affect us in a terrible way. And, as I always say, when Ian Smith, that terrible racist prime minister, was talking about how ZANU PF is just a bunch of gangsters, incompetent gangsters, at that time it was deemed racist. But when you look at what's happening now, his words have come to pass, which is quite tragic that a racist prime minister can be quoted today that he was right against a political party that was meant to protect and preserve the dignity of black people and everyone in this in our country. But they are failing us. Now, this, as I said, doesn't surprise us because that's how ZANU-PF has always operated. I mean, from the Paweni scandals in the 80s up to today. But the fact that the opposition is partaking in this corrupt activity, it's really heartbreaking. Who do the citizens tend to now? Because those that they thought were supposed to represent their interests are also involved in this. The other aspect that we need to interrogate and look at with some deep reflection is that when some of us said these MPs should get out of parliament, when the Crooked Shabangu thing started, we said get out of parliament. You're dignifying it by continuing in taking part in an institution that is now tainted. They said we are going there to defend our vote and the rights of our citizens. Is this what they meant when they said they are going there to defend the rights of citizens? Is this what they meant when they said they are going to defend our votes? They were not doing that. I've been saying for a long time that politics, both in ZANU PF and the opposition, has become a business. It's no longer about representing people. And I've been attacked ruthlessly by so many people saying, hey, anovenga ningi, anozovenga ningi. But today we are here. This is what I've been talking about, that politics is now a business in Zimbabwe. People are prepared to invest, pay money to become MPs on both sides of the aisle. It happens on both sides of the aisle. They pay leaders to get into to be selected, and that's why I was complaining about the opposition senseless Berekamwana thing. That this is a methodology being used to stop those that are capable, that are prepared to fight for the citizens, and bring in people that are not interested in doing what needs to be done. Does anyone on this Twitter space, know who the MP for Harare Central is? We don't know who these people are because they are quiet in parliament. They don't say anything. The politics for them is a business. Most of the MPs in urban areas, do you know them? Do they come back and give you feedback reports to say, this is what we have done for the citizens, this is what we have done for the country, these are the terrible things that we have stopped from being implemented in parliament? They don't. Some of them come to Twitter spaces, say nice things, and then disappear. But when it comes to a situation like this one, where it really matters, they disappear, they are nowhere to be seen. So I'm not really surprised by this. And you shall see, as I said again, Uncle Jed, last week, that we even have influencers and people running fake news websites being paid to distract citizens with stupid stories so that we don't focus on this. You can now see it. You saw it last week that guy, is it Tungwarara, Paul Tungwarara, who is supposed to be an advisor to Mnangagwa, paying influencers, paying fake news journalists to come on board on a program where they propagate propaganda, they push propaganda, they create stories which are fake. There was another story which is fake, which was in the news to try and get people excited about stupid things that the owner of Nyaradzo has left his wife, which is a lie. So they create this side, these side stories, so that we get distracted and we focus on things that don't really matter. I hope the citizens are saying this. I've been saying it for a long time, but I hope the citizens are saying this, and I hope that as our eyes, as the eyes of those that thought we were lying or we were just politicking, open, they also open their minds and come up with ideas to stop this. It cannot be allowed to happen. You know, 200,000 US dollars for 200,000 US dollars each for each MP. We've got 280 MPs. That's 56 million US dollars. That's enough to run all of Zimbabwe's central hospitals for 1 year. That's 280 for the lower house. The upper house, which is known as Senate, has got 80 members of parliament, and give them 200,000 each. Um, how much is that? How much is that, Uncle Jed? That's 16 million. Plus,
16.
that's 16 million. And you add 56 million, that's 72 million. So that one man can extend his term and stop his impeachment. You add on top of that 72 million US dollars, you add the land that is being given to these people. You add the cars, you add the allowances. Okay, let's say the allowances and the cars, they're entitled to them because it's part of their conditions of service. But the 72 million and the land that they're getting, and the reason Mnangagwa is not stupid, is realized that if he gives them the $200,000 each, they might vote against him and take the money. So he's staggering the payments to say, we'll give you 100,000 after you've voted to stop the impeachment and extend the term. We'll give you another 100,000. We'll give you these pieces of land. You can start working on them. When you vote, we give you your title. So the greed and corrupt ones are going to vote for him. That's how it's going to happen. And the sweetener for them is that if you extend my term, you are not only extending my term, you are also extending your term. So if he gets a 2-year extension so that he can do what he wants, the corrupt members of parliament that would have voted for him will also get a 2-year extension. It means that there are no elections in 2028. So it's very sad. It's very depressing. It's hurtful for the ordinary men and women in the streets who are toiling to feed their families. And for those that would have wanted to be employed but are victims of the 95% unemployment, to the ordinary citizens that do not know what they're going to eat tonight, that might go to bed, most of them on empty stomachs, on empty tummies, suffering from the highest inflation in the world, created by this guy and his goons. It's very terrible. Hospitals that do not have medication, the 2,500 women that die every year giving birth because we do not have maternity theaters, the 2,000 women that die every year from breast cancer because we do not have radiotherapy cancer treatment machines. I could go on and on. It's just terrible.
Thank you very much, for
I have
that.
a question for Opo.
Right. Okay. Okay. You can ask.
Opo, I want you to say something like, if people have gone on the street and take out this Mnangagwa, will it have changed what we are seeing right now? Thank you.
If people had gone to the streets, yes, there would have been something completely different from what we're seeing today, in the sense that he is the Don, the head of the criminal cartels. And the fact that he could do this brazenly, like what happened today, it means he doesn't care. What blessed bombshell Geza has managed to do is to create a chess game with him and Mnangagwa playing it. He's managed to stop the 23rd talk. That's why Mnangagwa is now taken to the bribes at such an early stage. That's why Mnangagwa shut down parliament yesterday so that he can start preparing his games for impeachment. So in a way, Blessed Geza managed to push Mnangagwa to help us expose the other criminal elements in politics that are these MPs that have gone to receive land. They received land in Mayborough, Ward 16, taking greenways. Tomorrow they're going to Marlborough. They're going to Borodale Central, which is known as Pomona. They are going to Borodale Greystone Park, because Greystone Park is under Borodale district, to take land. And these are wetlands. The impact of what they're doing today is going to be huge for future generations. So to come back to your question, yes, it would have helped, but the shutdown has helped us, I guess, to quicken the process of seeing how things are going to pan out. And that's why, if you remember, Uncle Jed, I said when I started hearing about these things, when Geza made this statement last week, Wednesday, that they are going for impeachment, I said, let us not be quick to judge. Let us wait and see how things are going to pan out. And this is exactly how things are panning out now. He has been pushed in a corner. He's now bribing these people. And I think the most important thing now is to expose the names of everyone who's going to get a piece of land so that we know who they are. Now, the problem is ideally or ordinarily in a normal society, there must be a price to be paid by Mnangagwa, and not just him, but the other members of parliament that are being used in a corrupt manner to help him to take to stop the impeachment and to help him to extend his term. But the problem with our society is we just watch, we come to Twitter spaces, we discuss about it, and nothing happens really. But if it was another society, people would have gone to the streets. People would have gone to Mayborough district office as soon as I reported about it. We'll see how the media is going to deal with it. But I can assure you that very few media publications will even report about these things. That's the tragedy of our society.
Right. We have got 208, MPs, right, in parliament, right now. Yesterday, I had Agents Bumbo on the platform, and he indicated that, he's not one of those that are under the yoke of Emerson Mnangagwa. And he also indicated that in parliament, right now, there are about three distinct, factions on the opposition side. Those that are under Shabangu, those that have gone to Washington, and those that are opposed to these other two, factions. And right now we are talking about, this issue that is blemishing all of them. But as you alluded to and as you pointed out, we are not seeing much of a response coming, from these MPs. Those, that are opposed, to this. What do you think is stopping them from speaking out? Because I don't understand, really, that you have your name being dragged. Because when you say all the opposition, MPs, we are there, everyone is being dragged under that. But we are having a few of them, apart from Joanna Mamumbe, who's actually come out and spoken out about this. Ejas Gumbo spoke out yesterday. But we are having a situation whereby we don't really know, in that crop of MPs, who is really on the side of the people and who's really not on the side of the people. But they are there. There are people who are saying that we are standing with the people. What is stopping these guys from actually coming out and voicing to say, look, whatever it is that is going on, we do not agree with it, and we are standing firmly against whatever it is that is going on? What is stopping them? What do you think is stopping them?
My assumption and the assumption of any sane mind, of any normal person, would be that if you are a politician who campaigned months on end wanting to go to parliament to represent the people, and when the people are under attack in such a severe manner as has happened today, you are supposed to speak out. But if you can't, it means you are compromised. It means that you have been involved in what's happening today. If you did not involve yourself in what happened today, you have been involved in other private deals that we are not aware of. So you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. So those that have been involved in underhand deals, those that have received money or any other sort of inducement, they are not going to speak. Those that are clean are going to speak out about what's happening. Those that you see being attacked by influencers that we all know are working for Amazon, or fake news websites that are meant to create side stories so that they can distract people, are doing something. Have you ever asked yourself why Fadzai Maher is under constant attack by Zim-I? All the time she's under constant attack. And yet she's one of the most vocal people against corruption and against this government. She's under attack because they are creating side stories. These people get paid bribes to create side stories and confuse people, and people start running with silly stories instead of focusing on these serious issues. So it's important for citizens to focus on things that matter. It's important. What really surprises me is somebody will say, "Oh, this is a fake news thing, fake news website, fake news Twitter handle." But if you go to those Twitter handles, uh, it's hundreds and thousands of people that are following them. It shows you how serious or how we are not serious as a citizenry. It shows you that we are easily excited by things that don't matter to the day-to-day lives of our people. We are easily excited by things that don't matter to to the sustenance of our country. What we are doing today will benefit generations to come, 50, 100 years from now. Just like what Ian Smith built in the 60s and in the 70s is benefiting us. What the Rhodesian Front built in the 50s, Kariba Dam, is helping us today. When Kariba is dry, Harare suffers, Blaawai suffers, Chinhoyi suffers, the whole country suffers because our electricity, part of our electricity is generated there. This is stuff that was built in 1959 under Roy Welensky when he was Prime Minister for the Federation. But it's benefiting us today. So what we are doing today should benefit future generations 50 years, 100 years from now. So if we mess up today, we are messing up for future generations. That's why I keep saying this is not about Hopewell. We should follow ideas and not personalities. We should follow things that address the cause that we are pursuing, the cause against corruption, the cause against bad governance, the cause against the rigging of elections and so forth. If we don't fix it now, our grandkids are going to be victims of what is being created today by these evil guys.
Right. Thank you very much for that. I want to put you, on hold, right there. I see I've got Decent Bajila, with member of the 10th Parliament of Zimbabwe. Can you please, take the mic? Make me understand. Are you a member in the current, Parliament? Is this the 10th Parliament of Zimbabwe?
Hi, how's it? Yes, the 10th Parliament of Zimbabwe is currently in session and I'm a member.
Right. So, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's people like you, that we have always been saying, guys, come on the platform, let us have a conversation, etc. So here we are. We have had, this report that there are 70 MPs, both ZANU-PF and CCC MPs that are, that went to, Meberin to get these pieces of land as bribe to support, Emerson Mnangagwa. Where do you stand then?
Well, that's information that I also met online today, and it's quite shocking to say the least. But I think that I had come on the space to listen and hear the views of the people, because it's always important at times to give yourself time to listen. Maybe what I could do to nourish the conversation is to bring some perspective. The first one is that Parliament runs its calendar exactly as the school's holidays do. So if it's April, you are a week before independence. Schools will close. Parliament will close. And Parliament will open in May. After, so you'll have the Independence, Easter, ZITF, and then Workers' Day. Thereafter, it opens. So that's what will happen. That's why you will see also during August holidays, Parliament will close also around about the same time. So I think this detail assists other issues around the conversation as I was listening. Secondly, Parliament, I think ever since the 8th Parliament, allocates land to members of Parliament. But what has been the trend is that members of Parliament have been getting land after the end of their tenure. So, for example, currently we are aware that members of the 9th Parliament, those who served from 2018 to 2023, are currently being allocated land. That one is general information that we are aware of, but in terms of specific places where they are being allocated land, it's too difficult to know, because it's in terms of what each member would have applied for, each city. I mean, a city of their choice, a province of their choice, if they decide to apply for land outside their province. I think also that this detail is material to fellow Zimbabweans as they discuss this. What it will be very strange is if members of the 10th Parliament are beneficiaries of the current allocation. It will be very strange. That's why some of us will decide that we will wait for the list to come out so that we know what exactly is happening. If it's members of the 9th Parliament, the only amiss issue will be the site of the land. Where exactly are they getting this land. It will be strange if what we're reading online is correct. But if also members of the 10th parliament are part of that, it will be even stranger. So we will wait for that. Some of the questions that I got were relating to, as I was listening, why are members not outraged? Why are members not coming out, as it were? There is so much information that is out there, which is about members of parliament, about parliament in totality, which becomes extremely, extremely false. So to the extent that when you see other pieces of information, you take some time to do your own due diligence to find out whether this is factual or not. So, for example, we read about 200,000. The other week, we read that Mutoti has read the motion for 2013 Parliament. We are there in Parliament. No such motion has ever been read. We also got to read that there is a motion on impeachment. We are there in Parliament. It has never been read. The other day, I had just asked a question to Daniel Garwe. Before he could respond, I sit down, I look at my phone, I read the news story circulating that Daniel Garwe is currently has been arrested when he was sitting right in opposite me. So when we read things as they come out there, the speed of response is now slower than it was some time ago, because there is so much information that we've seen out there, and it becomes necessary to do some due diligence on it. But we are certain that over the next 48 or so hours, the names of members of parliament who have gotten this land will be out.
Right. Is
And I
it
think it will
normal?
be easier to
Okay. Is it
understand.
normal for these MPs to get allocation of land in one area in their numbers? Like here, we've been told that these MPs, 70 of them, they went to that area. So is it normal for these MPs, even those that have left parliament, is it normal for all of them to just say, oh, we want to go to Meburin or want to go to Borodale? Is this normal behavior that we are seeing being reported here?
I hear you, Uncle Jet. I think that an informative response to your question will be if you could engage a member of any previous parliament, someone who sat in the 8th parliament, someone who sat in the 9th parliament, because people who have not been in parliament, even myself, before I got to parliament, I was not privy to these things. So I got privy to them when I got to parliament. But I remember that at some point, a number of members of parliament in Bulawayo, where I come from, were allocated land in the same area. And I think they are still building up to now. So it has happened, but I'm not sure if it's normal. So you might need to get into a conversation with someone who sat in the 8th and in the 9th parliament so that they could also share from their experiences during that time. Mine was to say this conversation that is happening now, I think it's critical, I think it's necessary, but I think that there are some details that as Zimbabweans continue to engage, they need to have them out there. In terms of the list, it will definitely come out. We will know how it is like, because there are so many lists that come out. So some of us were already taking our pens and papers to look at the list and try to find out why the list is as it is. Because if the list is of members of the 9th parliament, we'll understand it differently. If it has got 9th and 8th parliament, and 8th and 10th parliament, we'll also understand it differently. And also, if it has got members of first past the post only, without members of proportional representation, we will understand it differently. So we're waiting for this, but also we'll look at the names and see from which provinces do they come. Again, the list will be understood differently. So it's important given the amount of information out there that we know that it is fake, it is important for us to wait before we make comments until the list is out.
Right.
So I thought, given your question, I would respond this way.
Right. Okay. Wopo, I want to engage you. You are the one who broke the story. And
Yes.
now looking at what our honorable MP has said, that people that have served in parliament, they get these lands, the piece of land towards the end of their tenure, or if they don't get, then there's still a provision for them to get this land. So according to the information that you received, is there an indication that these are current MPs who went to to the district office to be allocated the land?
So I'll give you a good example. There was a member of parliament who was allocated land on the basis of what the MPS said. They were allocated land in their own constituency, which is outside Harare. But yesterday they were called again, and they are a sitting member of parliament. So what he's saying does not apply. It's not about previous parliaments. It's about the present parliament. They got a call last night to say, come to Mayborough district office. I got that information last night, but I decided to wait because I wanted to see, on the basis of what he has said, if it's about previous parliaments or not. And it turned out that it wasn't about previous parliaments. It was about this particular parliament because they got a call last night. I see some members of parliament here, including him and Richard Changrai. They can address this issue. The call came last night to say, let's meet at Mayborough district office. They got to Mayborough district office. The council officers were kicked out. They were told that we want to have our meeting here. We don't want you in the meeting. And they had their meeting. That's the correct information.
Sorry to cut you the Hope. If somebody is a member of the 10th parliament, without getting into names, would you be aware if they were member of the 9th parliament as well? Because some people have been members since the 6th or the 5th parliament, and they are still members up to date.
My point, based on what you have said, is that if what you said was the case, that people are given land at the end of their of their sitting, which means that those that were elected in 2023 will get land at the end or after the 10th parliament, or maybe during the 11th parliament. What you're saying does not apply because, as I said, there's a member of parliament who got land from the previous parliament and were called again yesterday in the evening to come. In fact, most of the MPs that I've spoken to were called last night to say, let's meet at Mayborough district office.
So can I check it that our honorable here did not receive the call?
He will speak for himself.
Honorable, no, I'm asking the honorable. I'm asking the honorable. So are you one of those?
Positive, I haven't received the call.
I've got a question for Honorable Bajila. Which function are you on the side of CCC? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm part of the CCC.
Yeah,
which part of the
which
CCC? Which faction? Because we know Shabangu, we've got Shabangu, we've got Jefferson Timber leading part of it. So which one are you part of?
Is it
maybe
material?
because maybe that may explain why you did not get
Yes,
the call.
yes, MP, it is material because it then informs the listeners. It helps them understand why you didn't get the call.
Exactly.
If you didn't get it.
So maybe you are on the side that is not favored. That's why you did not get the call. So help us understand that.
Okay, let me say
Did you
this. I
receive
do
the
not.
1 month salary?
Let me say
Amira
this.
Martin, wait, Martin.
Yeah, I will answer you in twofold. The first one is that I do not think that the calls or not calls would follow a belonging, because when we signed our forms of getting into parliament, we chose cities and provinces where we would love to get a piece of land. So we have already signed those forms. We've filled up, and if it's in Harare, therefore I wouldn't be called because I didn't choose a Harare. So I hold no beef for not being called, because Harare was not my choice for where I would love to get a land in the event that I get it. But your material question, I work with Professor Wolfman.
Oh, okay. So you work
So
with
you went
Professor
to,
Watson Muri.
so why did you went to the parliament after? What benefit are you doing for the people of your constituent?
Well, I think for now, let's talk about this issue of land.
Right,
Maybe
guys.
Uncle can create
Guys, if you want,
maybe
if you
Uncle can
want
create
to,
another space
right?
for
No,
that
no, wait,
wide-winding question.
wait, honorable, guys. I think if you let's be focused on what we want to discuss, tonight. Because the moment that we try to then go on and on and on with other issues, I think we'll lose track of what we want to achieve, tonight, and what we want to understand about what it is, that is going on. I know that you've got your questions that you want to ask, these MPs, and please can you shelve them, and then if we create another space where they can come in and join us and participate, we'll give you the opportunity, to do so. Right. Honorable, just a quick one. So on the issue, let's say the impeachment motion is moved. On the issue of the impeachment, how are you going to be conducting, yourself?
I do not know how proceedings of impeachment go, but I do not see also the likelihood of that motion being moved because of various reasons around how Parliament operates. If you have got a motion, you have to take it to the General's office, the legal counsel. Its text has to be approved, and I don't think that that kind of motion, under the current circumstances, would actually get to be read. We see things, we see statements circulating online. They are very much interesting language, but I don't see that kind of motion actually getting to be read in Parliament. So to even imagine what people would do will be stretching it too far.
So, MP, I've got one question that I want to ask you. Do you think it is appropriate for members of parliament to accept land from greenways and wetlands? And if you think it's not appropriate, are you going to challenge it in parliament?
What is the answer to your first question is that getting water, getting land in such kind of spaces is basically not correct. You have some rumors that are out there. Some of the names that will keep dropped, of course, because there's so much of information that is not correct out there. So you don't want to take anything unless you see the list out there. But some of the people that you are hearing are people who sit in environmental committees, and you would really wonder what machines are in those environmental committees that would get them to accept such. So we to come out that indeed the land, and I think that thereafter we will see if the committees that if the members of those committees who will not have accepted a land in those specific places will be willing to be actors. But also people are free to petition parliament. These days we've been having a lot of progressive petitions from private citizens that have been followed up, and they seem to be
Sorry,
getting.
MP. Sorry. I just want to interject. My question is straightforward. Do you think it is appropriate? If you think it is not, are you going to challenge it in Parliament? Those are my two questions.
The first part I've answered you clearly. I said it is not. Then the second part is that once it is verified that the facts are as they are circulating now, it will be challenged.
So, in other words, you don't support that. Am I right?
Allocation of land in a wetland. I mean, allocation of residential, allocation of somebody to do residence in a wetland is not supported. I will not support it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much, for that. I appreciate. I want to bring in, Nelson Gapare. He wants to talk about the impact of allocating land in areas that are wetlands that have been set aside for other purposes. So maybe, you can help us, right there, understand that is, your background. You can help us, in that aspect, and then we'll try and see if we can, build a conversation, around that.
Ngoma Jez, thank you so much. Adigan, I think it's quite interesting listening to a member of parliament who is talking about the politics and the allocation of land and not talking about the underlying issues. Now, what we are seeing here is basically a broken system where the safeguards that literally guard our environment are completely broken. Now, look, you have to look at the people that are in this government. Some of the people that you would think they understand the impact of the destruction of our environment and the long-term impact, you'd think you understand. I want to give an example. People who have a very solid background. I mean, these guys are PhDs who have worked in environment. Tine Emma, in Evan, very well qualified. Now we've got MPs that have been brought. We've got technocrats that have been brought into this. It's interesting to see how people's perspective changes with politics. Now, what we are seeing here, politics, not politics, this is just symptomatic of the underlying problem that Zimbabwe now would have to grapple with for years to come, for decades to come. This is a small part. We no longer have the environmental safeguard systems that we have had for a long time to safeguard our environment. Zimbabwe now has one of the largest, highest deforestation rates. We are completely destroying the very same environment that is supposed to sustain our future, right? Saka, destruction of wetlands is just a midget in the bigger picture, because we have people that literally do not understand the economic impact of destroying our environment. Now, Mkoma Hopo, thank you so much for asking that question. Are you going to object but I was expecting a little bit more from a member of parliament, which kind of to me demonstrates we have people that are in parliament for the stomach. No kuti. To restore those very same wetlands will cost us more than what these guys are getting, right? Second, we have companies, foreign companies that are being allocated land in national parks, in conservation areas, displacing local communities. Do we not have people that understand the impact, social and environmental impact? We actually do. But this is the level of politics that is now Zimbabwe has to grapple with. And for the next 10 generations, maybe, before we can restore the environment. Now, I think for Honorable MP, besides you saying that you would oppose what is going on in Parliament, in your own portfolio, and you mentioned that there are people that might be in the environmental committee portfolio that are also getting allocated this land, but in your own portfolio, what is it that you do to enhance the environmental safeguards that are set in stone in our own constitution for the sustainability of our environment and the future and future generations? In your own portfolio, what is it that you do besides talking to you oppose? If you are going to oppose, on what basis are you going to be opposing that motion? Right? So, Mkoma Jeds, I think what we have, which is what I think Hopo has said several times, is we have people that are sitting in Parliament for the stomach. Are these the same people that we are going to be looking forward to? Are these the same people that our generations are going to depend on? Please, I think the challenge we have is maybe us as the common people, we actually don't understand what it means that is actually happening. It's much more fundamental than just the allocation of land to MPs in a wetland. It's much more fundamental. And I think if we start understanding the impact, you go into other African countries, if you go into Ghana, for example, anything like this would send people into the streets. You go into Rwanda, anything like this would send people into the streets because they've been educated. Who educates them is the very same MPs that we are sending to Parliament. They are the ones that have a role to play. Their role is to educate the constituents to understand the critical matters that sustain the economy, the critical matters that sustain their own livelihoods. And we have MPs that do not understand those principles in terms of why they go to Parliament. They don't. Those are Saka, I hope we have a system that educates our citizenry, the voters, to understand what is the purpose of EMA? What are the fundamental issues that our MPs must take to Parliament? And we have a serious problem. Anyway, I rest my case. Thank you.
No, I mean, I thought when you said you wanted to speak about the impact. I thought you were going to delve deeper into the impacts of allocating such land. What are the impacts? What is it that people must be aware of in terms of the damage that can be brought about by allocating people land in those areas that are not supposed to,
Right,
or that have not been created for human inhabitation?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Let's take, for example, you see, when we start having construction of housing, when we start having settlements in those very same wetlands, what happens next? Come rain, those very same areas people have been settled in, we have flooding. Infrastructure doesn't work properly. Now, let's also understand that these wetlands have a regulating function that they perform as part of nature, and they have a function that they perform. And the problem is, in us destroying those functions, we are losing. We are losing in several ways. We are losing the regulating functions of those wetlands. We are losing the biodiversity in those wetlands. We are losing, in terms of the protection functions that they do in terms of absorbing some of the impacts that we would otherwise incur, during critical times, during times of heavy rains. So the impact is much more deeper because the destruction that will happen in the future is much higher than what we are seeing now. And then I think, not sure, of course, we cannot guess exactly what is going to be constructed in those wetlands, but one can be rest assured. I think this is going to be another turnaround. People are going to be constructing houses in those things. They are going to be parceling out those wetlands, and we end up with a high concentration of residential areas, and people are going to lose money. People are going to lose money because they will construct houses in those areas. Those houses are going to be sinking, and people will lose money, right? So just a few examples, things like that we have seen happening in other areas. They are going to happen in those same areas. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, for that. Can I bring in KN? KN, please. Do you want to come in?
Yeah. Thank you, Uncle Jeza. Ko Titus are cooking us.
I can't do it on
Man, you are scooter baka.
aiwa chimbosiya izvo ngatimbotaura zviri pano.
Okay. Yeah, I think people are echoing similar things. Just to sum it up, our country is that book that we always refer to, Animal Farm. Vana snowball, vana squealer. I don't know kuti vana boxer. Vachazinzwisisa say nyazi. Yeah, that's where we are. There is no rule of law. That they don't follow anything. These people. I mean, people spoke about the compromised parliament. Through Chavangwe, that exposed a lot of things. I think this is what we need to be, talking about as well as we look at these discrepancies that they are, doing. My wetlands, and they're not stopping even from wetlands. Even as the other gentleman highlighted, even my game parks. They're dealing with the Chinese who wants to, explore Zunizoma minerals and all that. I think that's another issue that's gonna come. I think it came, and this is what they want to do. They're doing things anyhow, and so as citizens, we need to stop them before they stop us, because they've messed up a lot, and we come here and say similar things, and now we're sounding like broken records. But I think what Vanamkoma Hopewell and others are saying, let's come with solutions as citizens, because we're on your own. These guys, they don't care about us. They are not thinking long term. They just want to grab everything in any way they can and make quick bucks, just like that. So I think, yeah, we as we deliberate on these things, we also need to be action oriented. We don't talk. We shouldn't be talking about these things and then leaving it there. But we should, fight through our problems and come up with solutions. As citizens, what are we going to do? Because these guys, they don't care about our country. They've bastardized our constitution. If they were following, the rules, they wouldn't have, gone to this extent of doing all these despicable things that we speak about here. So yeah, in a nutshell, the point I'm trying to drive home, Kuti, guys, let's act. Let's do whatever we can, whether small or big, as citizens. Because nyaya yekutaura togara tiri mumaterraces, it's not going to help our generation. It's not going to help the next generation. They're destroying, our environment in so many ways. In so many ways. And the people that are involved, some of them, when you look at them, these are people that are not, let me not say educated. Havana wisdom. Havana wisdom, kana. Havana weakness, vachipiwa tenders and all that. And then now we've got this. And I think what we also need to understand, Kuti, our parliament is captured, to be honest. There is no one who can go to someone's private farm, MNANGAGWA, to discuss the national matters and all that. So these guys are gone. They are gone, and there's a gap that we saw between the citizens and these so-called politicians. And that gap must be closed. And the people that are going to close that gap is just simple people like us, citizens in Zimbabwe and also in diaspora, deliberating on critical and comprehensive solutions that are going to, bring change in our country.
Right.
And I think I also, think also what's happened in that's my last point in South Africa to weaken ANC, because ZANU-PF has been hiding as well ku ANC koko. And what they are doing right now, Zora Hawkmill team expose and all that, I think things are moving in the right direction, and we should take advantage of the situation as Zimbabweans. We are learning on this platform, and these people being exposed, and also us being busy coming up with comprehensive solutions. I'll end there.
Right.
Thank you so much just for the space.
Right. Thank you very much. I've seen Honorable Wende has posted something. Yeah, he said that I've just returned from my rural constituents where I spent time engaging with the people in my village, discussing our village developmental priorities for 2025. In KwaZulu East, I represent communities grappling with severe poverty, unemployment, and daily struggles to put food on the table. It is against this backdrop that I address the ongoing discussions about stands allegedly given to MPs in Mabarene. I've not received any stand, nor have I been contacted, approached, or consulted about any such allocation in the last 12 months. I am also unaware of any formal process or list detailing which MPs, if any, were beneficiaries. While I cannot speak for every member of parliament, I find it deeply unfair to collectively condemn all MPs, especially those in the opposition, without verified facts. If stands were indeed distributed, the reasonable authorities must publish a transparent list naming the beneficiaries. Blanket accusations only serve to erode trust in all public officials, including those of us who have not and will not participate in such dealings. My focus remains on serving the people who elected me, um, people who cannot afford 2 meals a day, people who have no access to healthcare, and young people with no jobs or hope for the future. If they are leaders who prioritize personal gain over the suffering of the masses, they must be held accountable. But let us not paint everyone with the same brush. So that is Honorable Wende, responding. I think he's responding to so. I think he's responding to what has been said, on this space. Something that I tried, to focus on to say. But these guys, they get painted with the same brush, and yet we get told that some of them, they are not in favor of what is going on. By responding, by putting out responses, like this, is it enough to exonerate? I'm using that word, very carefully. Exonerate these MPs like Honorable Wende, who's coming out clearly that they are not in favor or they do not support whatever it is, that is going on.
There are no opposition. There are no opposition MPs in Parliament, and whichever way they might try to justify them, if there are elections again, they won't win even one vote. Their last time, including when they last time to in Parliament.
No. How do you know this was not even they will not even they will not even have one vote. One person is simply voting over themselves, isn't it?
Him, his wife, and the children.
Right, but anyway, I just thought that I bring that into the conversation because it is a response that is coming from one of the MPs, and I know that there are other MPs who are on this platform. Some of them they are listening, but I implore them to come through, grab the mic, speak to us, talk to us. I know that we've got that liberty of posting like what Honorable Wende he said. I mean, have done to clarify the position. That look, I've seen this being reported. I've not received a phone call. I've not been a beneficiary of any of this. I've not had any conversation with anyone in the last 12 months. And if there's a list of the beneficiaries, that list better be put out there so that we know who has been bought and who has not been bought. Which frankly, I want to believe that it's quite important that one has to come out and clarify their position. So Oppo, is this an example of something that we're expecting to see from these opposition MPs?
I think when I reported in the morning, I was very specific that there were only 70 members of parliament that were invited, and the calls came through last night. So Parliament is the lower house has got 280 members of parliament, and the upper house has got 80 members of parliament. And as I reported again this afternoon, tomorrow they will go to Marlborough. They will go to Borodale Central, which is commonly known as Pomona, and they will also go to Borodale Greyston Park. So today was just about Ward 16, and as the member of parliament for that particular ward clearly said this afternoon. She said, "This is heartbreaking. Our precious greenways in Harare West are being caved up to allocate MP stands without any community consultation or consent. These green spaces sustain us in the community. How can we destroy what gives us life? This is unjust and wrong." And she's speaking from a point of knowledge because she knows what is happening. And also the councillor for that same area, Denford Ngadziore, uh, he did point out that this has not been the first time. He has been fighting against the allocation of greenways. And I spoke to the mayor uh, this evening, the mayor of Harare, Councillor Jacob Mafume, and he told me that that land belongs to government. So clearly, any member of parliament who pretends not to know what's happening, they are being disingenuous. But as I said, these pieces of land that were given out today involve 70 members of parliament. So I think it's important, as I mentioned in 2023, that when Chabangus poisoned the well, as it were, it was important for members of parliament to understand that they were now drinking from a poisoned well. And there's very little that they could have done in the 10th parliament that would have been productive in terms of promoting the interests of the citizens, protecting the votes as they said it, because Mnangagwa has been able to do as he wishes. Right now, we've got a journalist who is in prison. I've not seen any action by the opposition members of parliament beyond the platitudes on Twitter or one or two of them saying they've gone to
These
see
guys are supposed to be
blessed.
showering now. Come on.
Somebody's is got their mic on, Angojed.
No, I've muted them.
Yeah. So this parliament, as far as I'm concerned, is written off. And the best that they can do is to just be honorable enough and accept that this parliament is now a waste of time. You had MP Bajila saying he's with Welshmen. Another group says they are with Shabangu. Another group say they support Nelson Chamisa. It's just a mess. There is nothing that is going on that is going to serve the citizens in that parliament. You had MP Bajila there writing off the impeachment. To be quite honest, I hope he's still here. To be quite honest, it's surprising to me that a member of parliament who proposed to be opposing ZANU-PF will be dismissive of anything that seeks to address one of our biggest problems, that is Emerson Mnangagwa. To say it's a waste of time from somebody who sits in parliament purportedly opposing ZANU-PF, it surprises me. Is it not the case that anything that might give some kind of pathway to dealing with our problems should be supported, regardless of how far-fetched it is? It should be supported. This parliament, we're not going to get anything, Angojed. And to be quite honest, I just feel that these guys are doing it for themselves, as I've said for years. It's about stomach politics. It's no longer about the citizens. The citizens do not matter in their hierarchy of needs. If they did, they would have been dealing with so many things. They would have been focusing on so many things that are affecting citizens today, but they are not. And we are going to see that a lot of them will pick these pieces of land and they'll just disappear. And the other thing, before I land, is that it amazes me to hear an opposition member of parliament saying they are entitled to land. And yet, when they were campaigning against corruption. Giving pieces of land to members of parliament, it's corruption. I do not understand which part of corruption they do not understand in taking pieces of land that are meant for the community. Imagine each parliament, if it gives land to each member of parliament, that is 280 in the lower house plus 80 in the upper house. Each parliament gives 360 pieces of land to members of parliament. I mean, which country can sustain that? Even in Britain, which is a wealthy country where you and I, Angojed, are, members of parliament do not get pieces of land. It's a form of corruption that ZANU-PF has perfected, a form of patronage that allows ZANU-PF to control members of parliament, to say, we're going to give you pieces of land. And what ZANU-PF does is every year they will come with a little sweetener. Last parliament, you remember, I broke again the story of the 40,000 US dollar that were given to 40,000 US dollar checks that were given to members of parliament. Only one member of parliament said, no, I'm not going to take this. The rest, they took it. So, on what basis do they oppose corrupt rule if they are partaking and enjoying the fruits of corrupt rule? Is it not the case that if you are opposing corrupt rule, you should oppose it in any form, including the distribution of land to members of parliament? There are people that are extremely poor in our communities, in our cities, that have been waiting for these pieces of land for decades. I grew up in a ghetto. People would go, they would go and leave their names there, hoping that the city council will come to them and say, we'll give you a piece of land to build your house, or we'll give you one of those council houses or council flats. We all grew up living in council houses in Zimbabwe. Um, but if a member of parliament who is a lawyer, who is a doctor, who is an engineer, who is a businessman, is taking that land ahead of the very poor, the poorest of the poor in our society, what does that say about their moral compass, or do they even have one?
Yeah, it's quite terrible that we have got such a situation existing in our nation. Just like some people are even saying that there was this argument that happened in one of the spaces, saying that all these people used their resources to go into parliament, so asking them to leave parliament will not be fair, as if it was to say that they need to recoup something as a result of going to parliament. It's something that is quite tragic and is quite sad, and it's unfortunate that is the kind of politics that we now have in Zimbabwe. And it's
Uncle Jess, it is driven by the corrupt habit of leaders of political parties having to demand money from prospective members of parliament. These guys, some of them paid bribes to different types of leaders for them to be put in the queue to become members of parliament. That's why you saw I was complaining about the methodology that was used by the opposition to select members of parliament. It's because the whole process is corrupt. The member of parliament pays a fee to one of the leaders to get in the queue. They get the slot, they go into urban areas because they are guaranteed to go into parliament. That's why these guys are saying, oh, we invested, we paid leader so and so, and we used our money to campaign, and we need to recoup that money. To them, getting into parliament, they had to invest to do that by paying a bribe to one of the leaders and also by investing in campaigning. That's why I'm against this whole system. We have to quote, unfortunately, Donald Trump, drain the swamp. It's no longer just about ZANU PF, it's about the whole political system. It's corrupt, it's not fit for purpose. It's being used as a business where people go in there and they make their money. That's why they don't see anything wrong with getting a piece of land, with getting cars. They don't see anything. Some of them even went to parliament, you remember, wanting a second car. And a genuine representative of the people goes to parliament to save the people. That's why I like the old system that was in place, where you could not become a councillor if you didn't own a house in the area where you want to become a councillor. You must have been a businessman or a professional who has contributed something to society for you to go and represent them. We've got people that can't even read the balance sheet in council and in parliament. And for you to become a member of parliament, there must be a certain threshold. There are certain things that you should meet, certain requirements, but it's not the case in Zimbabwe. So we need to go back to the drawing board and change the whole system because it's now contaminated.
Thank you very much. Dr. Tadini, do you want to come in? Dr. Tadini? If you are speaking, I can't hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah, now it's better. Please go ahead.
All right. Then I think that's a connection issue. No, thank you very much. The first thing is, I think the news is still very fresh, and as you can see, there is some information that is being challenged, and we are still to have the solid facts. But I'm going to go on to the building of wetlands, something that is more concrete, or at least people are waiting for the or those that are stealing our future. um, when it comes to the wetlands, you have to remember 2017, 2018, 2019, we had a similar issue where people were building in the wetlands in Kwazana. I think they actually succeeded in building in the wetlands in Kwazana extension, and some parts of Kwazana 65 lie in wetlands. And opposite those ones, I think if you're in Blawayo Road and you go Pawanoti Pamagets, the very opposite, another large piece of wetland that's stretching all the way back. Konobata Pama, what they call Pama Chinese, that shopping mall. What do you call that shopping mall? I'm forgetting it. Those are all wetlands, but there were a lot of groups that did make outcries that you shouldn't build on those wetlands. But because there was a ZANU-PF project that was running an election to be had and masses to be appeased, people did succeed in building wetlands. Why am I telling the story, 2018 story, and many others that are similar to this one of tampering with a very important national resource such as wetlands? It's to point out that you and I, Tadini, Masai, are still the same people that we were in 2017, in 2018, in 2019. The government of Zimbabwe, or whoever is passing out wetlands to the MPs, who whatever they want to do, because they've done it before. And all we could do was simply complain, and they just ignored us and went ahead with it. So if you and I are still the same, if we're still exactly the men we were in 2017, in 2019, and if the bulk of the citizens of Zimbabwe are still exactly the same people that they were, they have not changed in
Your
their
network is
methods,
breaking.
attitudes, they have not changed
Tadini,
in their
Tadini, you there?
reactions.
Tadini.